Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural. Bigfoot. Extraterrestrial. Psychic energy.
The Calling.
And good evening, everybody. This is Kim with the Calling Radio Show, and Jerry is not with us today because his headphone is out. So unfortunately, he will not be with us tonight. But I do have Willow, of course. So hi, Willow. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kim. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. How's everything up there? Or down there, I should say, because I'm up here.
Well, we have bad news. It actually got into the 40s at night and into the 50s and 60s during the day. And I don't like cold. I don't like cold.
That is bad news for you guys, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny.
Started
so how's
killing
everything?
The plants, man.
Yeah. So have you been going out to the square and everything still?
Not last weekend. We had rain. It was cold. And then they've, changed our phase 2 again from phase 3. So there's really not a lot of action going on. So.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
That's all right. I still do my private clients and I have fun with them.
Well, that's understandable. So tonight's show, Willow, take it away. What are we doing tonight?
We are going to talk about psychic abilities and what our gifts are.
Yay! No. So go ahead, Willow. Start it out.
So psychic abilities, or psychic gifts. We talk about this a lot. And most of the time, I have clients will come to me and they'll go, I've been told I have abilities, but I don't know what they are. And I'm like,
right.
Okay, well, normally people that have them kind of know. But everybody has something to an extent. We may have a strong intuition, that gut feeling that just we know things. We shouldn't go down that dark alley. That would be a bad idea, right?
Absolutely.
We may have a dream, and then something happens the next day and go, oh, my God, I just dreamt about that last night. Mm-hmm. So everybody has something in the way of psychic ability. But most people just don't know how to nurture it or help it evolve so that they can utilize it to its fullest. But I think tonight we just want to talk about the different kinds of abilities because some people may not know what their ability is called. And so I realized, and I was telling you earlier that I realized that if psychic abilities was an illness, I have every symptom. And that, some people might go, oh my God, this is awful, but it's how you use them. So I just wanted to, kind of go over those tonight. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Right. And I think that's because everybody has abilities, and it's just how you use them and how you use them in a sense or in a good way. And like mother instincts. I mean, that's an ability there. You know what I mean? When you become a mother, it's an instant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying that these are different things that I would even have of respective, So let's talk about the different types of abilities. So go ahead. Let's start that one out. There's different things. Go ahead,
there's several different things. I decided to look up to see how many normal lists there was, right? Yeah. And I found a list of 7. So and I call them different things, but that's why I found it interesting because they have different wording for the different gifts that I would have said.
Right.
And the first one they talk about is clear seeing. It's the ability to see or have visions. Like clairvoyant mediums have the ability to see things presented to them in the mind's eye. Now, I get that, okay?
Right. Right.
So people will say, well, do you always see a ghost? Well, no, sometimes they just show themselves to me in my mind's eye. I'm not actually seeing them. Or
Right.
they'll show me a picture or, them doing something, and they'll let me know what they like to do in the past.
Right. Like me, I feel like it's like when I go through the past, I feel like it's an old movie. I'm not kidding. In my mind's eye, it's like these old looking movies in a sense, and you see what the past has ever, it shows me that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So to me, that's exactly what that is to me as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other one that they listed is clairaudience, which is, of course, clear hearing, right?
Yep.
The ability to hear messages from the spirit realm.
Mhm.
But we could also hear our spirit guides or, that kind of thing as well. Or we might just hear a sound. It doesn't even have to be like the voice of a spirit. But clairaudience allows us to hear things that aren't really in this realm or in this dimension.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Now, would that be the same? So here's my thing on that. So when I hear things, sometimes I hear like voices, like when I'm doing an investigation, sometimes I can hear voices, but then here's a good one. One time I was going through this business and I could hear click, 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 click. Okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't, nobody else could hear it, but I could hear it, and I'm like, okay, what the heck is that? And I kept hearing click, 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 click. So I did the research on it, and I kept feeling like I knew that there was a male there. I knew that whoever this male was took care of an animal, certain animals, but I was the only one could hear that sound. Well, anyways, I found out later it was the livery. So a livery is a place where people had their horses, like say the courthouses or the downtown areas, and they would watch the horses while these people you would take them to the library and you would sit there and you would feed the horses and give them water or whatnot. And there would be one person there to take care of the horses. And I just thought that was pretty crazy and amazing that I even could hear. So to me, those were the horseshoes of the library, So I thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah. So there you go. So would that be in that sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's sounds or voices or anything that others aren't hearing, but we know we're hearing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other one that is interesting is empathy. I gotta say that right. Empathy. It's sensing other beings, other people's emotion. Okay. It's empathy, right?
Yes. Yes.
But some of us can also pick up on a spirit's pain or emotion rather than just a person in the room. So that is something that we can talk about.
Yeah. So there are different, so I would think that like empathy. So sometimes I have investigators that will cry during an investigation.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why are you so emotional? But that's part of being an empath.
Yes.
I'm right? Am I? I think
totally.
That's exactly. And I just think that, and I could do, sometimes I get like emotional too or angry. And then you would know that there was always this angry person there or whatnot. I mean, I get a lot of that through the paranormal. And so I kind of understand that in a sense. I mean, how about you? Do you?
Yeah. For me, I will ask a spirit if I'm trying to connect with someone's deceased loved one to make sure that it is their loved one and not another spirit that's trying to sneak in on the ride.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
I will ask them, can you show me, in the way maybe you were having a pain or an area of your body or anything like that. And I will have them give me a pain in my stomach or a pain in my head or in my neck or whatever. And then I will ask the person that's sitting with me, I'm going to tell you what I'm feeling. And if any bodily sensations comes through, a lot of times it's spirit telling me this is where I had pain, so that they'll know that it's me.
Exactly.
And, you know, and I'll tell them, oh, I'm getting a really bad pain in my head. It feels like my head just exploded. Does this make sense?
Oh my gosh,
Well,
Willow, that is so true.
and
That
they'll
is,
say, well, yeah, they kind of committed suicide, you know? Yeah.
yes,
And I'll pick
yes.
that up. I pick that up. And then I have to tell them to take it away, because I've literally, when I first started doing it that way, I would have like a headache for like 3 days. It was like this migraine that would not go away.
Right,
And finally I said, you can show me, but you can't give it to me.
right, right.
And so now they just kind of show me. And so it's not quite as painful. But yeah, I get that all the time. That's my way of knowing who I have coming in,
Right,
that it's the right
right.
one.
That's awesome because I mean, I know that's, I mean, these people probably have died with, of course, like you said, committed suicide and stuff like that. It's just awesome. It validates of what you're feeling and why you're feeling this. And it's just amazing on how that all works. Like I did a reading once, which sometimes, like I don't like to do them quite often. And sometimes just people are like, can you do this reading for me? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm like that. I like reading the buildings on places. I don't like doing it on I guess I just not confident in a sense, but I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. And they just give me the picture. And then there's my spirit guides telling me, nope, this is what you're doing today. And boom, boom, boom. I mean, it just starts working. And one time I did a reading on something and they gave me this picture of this man, this gentleman, and all of a sudden I started getting a headache and then my stomach started hurting and I felt like my guts were coming out of my stomach and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, okay, so this person, and I just started reading it and just started going with it. I asked him, okay, he got shot, didn't he? This is why I'm having this headache. And then they go, she didn't say nothing. She wouldn't say anything to me. And I said, he also got shot in the stomach and his guts are coming out. And they're like, just looking at me, just like freaking out. And I was like, okay, these people aren't telling me. So I was really getting afraid of it. And, because I'm not knowing if I'm really telling the truth, you know what I mean? Or,
Right.
But I'm just feeling all this emotional. And then I see him, he's in a car and then I see him on the floor and I see him. So I'm telling these people and they're not even answering me all of a sudden. And it just tears started pouring out of their eyes. And I'm like, this is really what happened, isn't it? And they're like, yes, this is what happened. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so sick. And when you go through that, sometimes you have to be super careful because when you walk away from that, you sometimes can get so sick and so drained and so my sister was so blown away. She couldn't believe it. So I did it in front of my sister and my sister was just amazed. And those people were just crying. And then all of a sudden I felt better. Like if he had comfort knowing that I shared this with them and I started telling them how much he loved them and how, the little boy that, he used to play with this little boy. And they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're really telling us this, So yeah. And it gave them comfort. It really did. So yeah.
Right. And that's what my goal is every time I have a client that comes to me like that. They need that comfort or that closure. They had a question. They feel guilt because they couldn't be there when the person passed, all these things. And it allows them to finally feel better about the situation so that they can start their healing process.
Exactly.
And so it's beautiful when we can do that, And I think, like you said before, that sometimes you're afraid or you don't trust your own abilities.
Right.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people are afraid. In the beginning, when I started reading for the living and not just the dead, I questioned myself all the time. I was actually afraid. Well, what if I tell them the wrong thing? What if I'm getting a message, but it's not for them, But I'm still supposed to say it. And finally, one day I thought, you know what? I don't want to give anybody bad news, but if I don't give them the heads up, They
Right.
can't be prepared.
Right.
And their guides want them to know this. And if their guides want them to know, they're supposed to get a heads up. They're
Mhm.
supposed to be prepared. So it might be, you need to go and visit your grandmother more. You
Right.
need to ask her for all her stories from childhood. This is
Mhm.
what I'm getting. I don't know why I'm getting it. I knew why I was getting it, but I wasn't going to tell them why I was getting it.
Right.
But I will tell them that much. It's like, you need to do this. For the
Mhm.
next 3 months, you need to go and visit her as much as possible or call her on the phone, but let her tell her stories. She
Right.
needs to be able to tell you her stories. It's going to
Exactly.
help your grandma, kind of thing. And
Exactly.
finally, I started, having a little bit more confidence in what I was supposed to tell them.
Mhm.
So I think that is the one thing that most people that are new to a gift,
Right.
they're young, they don't know how to handle it, they don't know what to do with it. That's the one thing they need to learn, is how to trust themselves and trust
Exactly.
what they're hearing.
Exactly.
And I try to get people to do more meditation, because I think a lot of times you can reach your inner or higher self, your
Mhm.
unconscious mind, a lot easier in meditation, and
Mhm.
it clears the clutter. You
Yeah.
have to get rid of the clutter to start
Exactly.
trusting what you're hearing.
And that's so true, Willow, because the more you do the meditation, the better you feel about yourself. And then when you open up more, it does add a little bit more ability each time you do it. And
yeah.
I feel that it's just, and it's so good for your soul and so good for your body,
Yes.
that you can meditate. It helps you. It's just an enlightenment, which, and some people are like, oh, I don't have the time. Take 5 minutes. Do it
Yeah, it
little
doesn't
by
take
little.
much.
It
No.
doesn't take much at all, and it's nothing to be really afraid of. And if you don't want to do full blown meditation, like I said, it's there just to help you relax. I mean,
Right.
I think in meditation, I think a lot of people do it. Like, in church they talk about meditation, and they talk about meditation like prayer, and
Yeah,
which is true. It's the same
it
thing.
is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I find a lot of that in the church. I'm just saying. A lot of these
Yep.
things they want to separate, from where we're at, and do you know what I mean, Willow? Like, it just
Yep.
seems,
There's so
you
much
guys have.
crossover.
I know it is. It really is. I mean, the church is like, okay, guys, they just don't believe in the psychics, and they don't believe in this, and they don't. But you know what? There's like things. Well, that's going to be another show.
Yeah.
I have to say.
It's
I'm
another
finding
show for
more and
another
more.
night. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finding more and more about stuff like that. Just saying. So yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
um,
So,
the next one they have listed here is sensing, feeling, or clairsentience.
okay.
Okay. Now we all have that, right? We have that gut feeling, right? That just knowing that something is coming.
Or
You don't
that
know what
feeling.
it is. Yeah, that
Or you
feeling,
get over
right?
anxious, like an anxious
Yeah.
feeling. Like I was feeling the other night. I felt super anxious, and I was like, "What the heck is going on? Something's going on." Well, of course, probably the full moon, was giving me
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I love the moon, and it's probably telling me, get out there, and soak up the moon. But yeah, I get that, like the whole anxious or being. What else does it say? Like, what else?
It says, okay, so it's described as gut feeling or intuition. You have the
Mhm.
ability to sense and feel emotions from spirit, both positive and negative.
Okay.
And these feelings are being transmitted by your guides and are clearly different from your own feelings.
Right.
You can receive warnings this way, as in feeling that something's not right, or get an excited, elated feeling when something wonderful is about to happen. And that is so true,
Have you had something?
Oh, yeah. Like, I used to get anxiety attacks at times when I would go out to Jackson Square. And then
Okay.
I would find out that earlier in the day there had been a crime committed near the area that I set up.
Mhm.
So I was still picking up on that energy that was still
Right.
residual in that spot.
Right.
I do all my precautions. I'm protected. We'll just say I'm protected when I go out there. I don't go out there empty-handed.
Right.
I know how to protect myself. And but yeah, I will have like an anxiety attack. Now, if it's bad enough, I won't even leave the house. I will just not go out there, and I will choose to do readings at home.
Mhm.
But, you have to decipher, what am I picking up on? Is it somebody
Right.
else's, because I do sense, spirits too. But generally, then I'll do a reading. I'll go, okay, let me just pull some cards. Am I feeling this? Is this anxious feeling for me?
Mhm.
Or is this somebody else, and I'll do that, a yes or no kind of thing. Or I'll pull out my pendulum, yes or no. Is this mine or is this somebody else's,
Right. Right.
But if it's
So
mine, I don't do it.
So I'm going to read some questions real quick. Sherry says,
Oh, yeah.
curious if psychic abilities are passed down by families. I believe that. Yes,
Yeah.
psychic abilities are passed down. So yes, I truly believe in that. What else? Somehow his kids are coming out. I don't know what they're talking about here. Jerry says, Casey, yes. Yep, Casey. Apparently Casey had some psychic abilities as well. But she turned it off. Yep, years ago. People can do that. They can turn off their abilities because they're just like, I don't, especially younger people that, younger kids like I was always afraid, when I would see things or if I would sense things or if I would, so I was always afraid. And so when I started using my abilities, and I thank God for my mom because she was really, really gentle about how she would talk to me about these things. And see, my mom had some abilities. My great grandmother had some great abilities. And so, it was good that my family was there. And some families are not there, and it's super, super hard. Did you ever have that trouble?
I had no family. I had no family to guide me. My grandmother passed when I got my abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like 2.5 is when she died. And so she was one of the family that had it. Nobody else had it. And I'm like, great, and my mom didn't want to scare me. So even though she knew what her mother had, none of her or her siblings had it. It skipped a generation in our family.
Yep. I mean, my mom has it, but I think, and she used to make me do readings. Like she would make me look at cards and tell me what's this number, what suit is this, I'm like, okay, mom, and then when I tell her that the phone would ring, I mean, there was just different things. My brother, when he passed away, I knew when he passed away. I mean, immediately I got up and I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt this sensation, like this overwhelming sensation, and the phone's ringing and ringing, and I'm just looking at it, staring at it, and sure enough, my mom gets the phone and she collapsed. And it's like, oh my God, so I knew, and I'm just a kid, and getting this terrible news like that, and I'm already feeling this emotion, So I just think it's, and it says here, my sister's kid is super, I can't even say this, psychokinesis? How do you say
psychokinesis?
I'm sorry, I can't pronounce words very well, guys. It's terrible.
Let me see if I can find it.
User at 8. So I think, isn't that where they can move things in a sense?
Yes. Telekinesis is the moving of something with your mind.
Wow.
And a lot of times, and this is where it kind of crosses over sometimes, especially with young people. Sometimes a house will have a lot of paranormal activity with poltergeist activity, but it's actually, it could be somebody in the house that's having this release of energy, or they're going through puberty and things like that. And it can really cause paranormal situations, which is poltergeist activity. The kid might have their bed rocking and walls are pounding and all kinds of stuff is moving. Yeah. And they're blaming a ghost when it's really that person. And it's a telekinesis situation. Yeah.
Right. And that's because they're young. They don't have abilities to control it.
Right.
So, or they don't have a mom that will help them, or they don't have siblings that are the same in that sense, like you said, that it's every other person in the family. But I know my mom had some things, and I don't think we all had the same gifts.
No, I don't think we all have the same.
No.
Everybody has their, so they're listed as an ability,
Okay.
but I think each person has it to a different degree, and it's interesting. It's like some psychics refuse to use tarot cards. Okay.
Right.
But for me, even though I'm not reading what the meaning is of the card,
Mm-hmm.
I'm using them as a focus tool.
Oh, okay.
And it allows the client to feel comfortable and will believe in the cards before they will believe in the psychic. And
Right.
it's really funny, but it doesn't matter to me who they believe in so long as they're getting their message.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, but everybody has their own gifts,
Mm-hmm.
but they can express their gifts in their own unique way.
And and let's talk about how to express how to say or use. Like a person will say, this would probably be somebody that was anal about what they do, and some people say, I have powers or gifts or abilities. I mean, let's talk about that. I kind of feel like saying an ability. I don't say gifts in a way, because I think other people are so talented than I am. So I think that sometimes saying gifts, is, I just feel like I have some abilities. That's how I go. I sit there and when I tell somebody, I don't know if it's being negative in a sense. I don't know. I mean, what do you say, Willow? Do you say gifts, or how do you say it to tell somebody?
When somebody asks me, I just tell them I'm a psychic medium. They can call it what they want. I don't really say it's my gifts. I think it's a gift from the divine that mine came out strong. And I was able to enhance them, or at least tune them and fine tune them. I use them every day.
Yeah, exactly.
But not everybody does.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I think, like, how do you say it without feeling like, and some people will say, I have the power, or I have the ability to, I just say, okay, maybe I have some abilities. That's all I say. I have some, I don't know what they want me to do today, but I'll see what they want, So that's how I kind of say it. Or I always say spidey senses, have some, what you call spidey senses, but in the paranormal form.
Yeah, I try to help people, because there's a lot of people, I don't believe in the paranormal. I said, do you ever have that gut feeling or your spidey senses? They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll just go with that.
So Sherry says that so Sherry, I'm going to read some more questions because I know I'm behind. She says that he turned off his though. That's what she said. So I guess he did who is it? Her nephew? I want to say, or her sister's kid would be her nephew. Yeah.
Wow.
So that is, for me, well, Sherry, do you have abilities? She says, as for me, none. Okay, there you go. She answered my question. My parents show any signs or interest in abilities. Let's see. She says, it's kind of weird. Jerry says, my mother is where mine comes from. Incredible woman she was. That's awesome, Jerry. This one says, cool. Can psychic abilities skip generations? Yes, I think they do.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Mine did.
Or show up in random in a family of non-psychics.
Yes.
I think so.
Totally.
I think it does. Yep.
Because sometimes a person can go through a traumatic event that turns their abilities on.
That's true. I believe that.
But the rest of the family didn't have that traumatic event. So, yes, I do believe that it can just pop out in one person in a whole string of family. Yeah.
Right. And then let's see. Can psychic abilities or show up in random yep. Let's see. I'm trying to read everything here. I hope I catch up, guys. I'm sorry if I'm skipping any questions. And then it says, that happened to me once. I thought that I never listened to the voice of the world again until I found out I have speakers. Boy, was my face red. I don't know if that means, sorry. I've been busy helping. Okay, they must be talking. And then are there psychic vampires, gifts or deficiencies. So
Yes.
yes. So what is a psychic vampire, Willow?
I think we'll talk about that when we come back from break.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. We'll be back.
Those geek ladies, Sean and Victoria from Exploring the Paranormal with Geeks Paranormal, are at it again with another amazing season full of paranormal celebrity interviews with amazing guests and stories of haunted locations and so much more. You will hear it first on Para X. Tune in Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central. You will not be disappointed.
Help.
We didn't even get through all of our abilities here in this list.
It is the secret of the world that all things subsist and do not die, but only retire a little from sight and afterwards return again. Nothing is dead. People find themselves dead and endure the mock funerals and mournful obituaries. And there they stand, looking out the window, sound and well, in some new and strange disguise. This secret must be told to the world, and they must tell it. Because they're not dead. We know this, and we'll prove it. So join Mike and Dave every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central for the Odyssey Files. Only on Parax.
Hey there. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a great new radio show on Para X. 2 hosts, 1 hour, and too much fun. Stephanie and Heidi not only talk about the latest goings-on in the supernatural worlds, they live it. They want to hear from you. They want to help you understand and guide you. And they want you to tune in. So, grab a friend or come alone to gather around that metaphysical table with Heidi and Stephanie. If you're interested in the worlds of the unseen, tune in to the Gathering Radio Show, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Para X Radio.
And we are back. So I just have to plug in a couple of shows here up on the Para X Radio. We got Stephanie and Heidi on, oh my gosh, I'm so bad right now.
The Gathering.
The Gathering. The Gathering. I'm so bad. Of course, you've got to hear Stephanie and Heidi. They have some fantastic shows. How was the show, as a matter of fact, Willow?
It was so much. Oh my God, it was so much fun. You guys have to listen to their shows.
Yeah,
oh my
definitely
God,
listen
great.
to their shows. Yeah, and then we also have the Odyssey Files, and they come on. Let me go back to the Gathering, and they come on every Tuesday. I think it's from 7 to 8. I want to say, or 8 to 9. Check it out on check it out on Para X Radio. We also have the Odyssey Files with Mike and Dave, and they talk about the whole paranormal, a bunch of stuff too, lots of topics, and there's so many great shows on Para X. How can you not? There's like shows for every day, and how can you not listen to it? Just go to Para X Radio and listen to the shows. Like I said, Odyssey Files is on Monday, and I think they're from 7 to 8, I want to say. Also, we have Geeks Paranormal. Those gals are awesome as well. So, and they come on right after this, I want to say. So anyways, let's get back to talking. Sherry's probably like, oh my gosh, Kim. So let's.
All right. Psychic vampires. Now, what is the actual question about this again?
Well, I guess she says, are there psychic vampires? So let's
Okay. Well, when I think of a psychic vampire, I feel it's somebody that you feel so drained by the time you're done talking to them, you wish you had never started talking to them.
I think that's in general. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't know about this whole psychic vampire thing. I think people can do that to you all the freaking time. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, okay, so if you really want to talk about vampires and energy vampires or psychic vampires, that would be somebody that literally feeds off of your energy. So, it's interesting. A lot of times it's just more of a mental issue for them. Like they're very self-centered. They want to talk about themselves nonstop. And by the time you're done, you're just like, okay, can I take a nap now? Because I feel like you just took every drop of energy I had. But yeah, that's basically what I consider a psychic vampire or energy
And I
vampire.
think I'm guilty. I think I do that.
Well,
Like,
I would
just
pick
did
up on that. My abilities would pick up on that, Kim. You are not one.
I'm just saying there could be some mean people out there. Anyways, but I do believe in that. I really truly believe in that. And people they really do suck up, they're able to suck up. Well, I even think like even in the paranormal world, even entities or ghosts or spirits, they can do that as well, so
Oh,
it's
they
not
do,
just,
yeah.
Yeah, it's not just people in general. I think it's just even in the paranormal and wherever, so
Totally.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they use our energy to materialize or move something or make something, move or make a knock or whatever. They got to get the energy from somewhere, and if it's not our equipment, it's going to be us.
Oh, so I'm going to reread her question. She says, are psychic vampires gifts or deficiencies? Well, I think they'd be both, right?
Well, I don't think it's a gift.
Right.
I'm not going to give them, no, that's not a gift. No, I think they have a deficiency they are trying to fill.
Oh, true. Because let's this, because I know some psychics, and sometimes they feel like it's I. And at one time, so we were sitting at a table, and I was with this psychic girl that was with one of us, and there's me, but I don't say I'm psychic or anything. I don't ever talk about that like that. And we had some other girls with us, and I think it was a lot of my team. They're mostly women, and we were on this table, and somebody, I think it was this paranormal investigator, I don't know, he came up and he sat down and he goes, wow, I'm just feeling some energy around here. And right away this psychic said, oh, that must be me, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
oh, Lord.
Okay, and we're all like, okay, And he goes, no, I don't think it's coming from you. This is what he's telling her. And I'm like, he goes, nope, I don't think it's you. And then she's like, oh, no, it is me. I know it is. And I was like, what the heck is this girl saying? And sure enough, it was a whole different thing. And we just, as soon as they walked away and he walked away, I turned around. I said, I think that was you, Carrie. And she goes, you think so? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I think he was really feeling like something with you. Like just her energy was so good and glowing and everything. She was really happy at the time. And I just felt like he's like, no, because she's on this side. And he's like, it's coming from over here. And she goes, no, that's me. It's me. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I just think that sometimes that's why they kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
little sound effect.
That's definitely those people that would call their abilities gifts.
Okay.
Not abilities. It's a gift. She's gifted. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go on to this next one, which is an interesting one, and I think we've all experienced it once in a while.
Okay.
Now I'm going to botch this word because I've never heard of it this way. Clairalience. Which is
I've never heard of it.
The sense of smell.
Ooh, good.
Yeah. But
That
I
is
didn't
a
know
good
that that's what it was called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So isn't that cool? Because like walk into a place, you smell a cigar burning, right? Or you smell fire. You know there's something burning, but there's nothing burning, and you're the only one that can smell it.
Yes. So paranormal investigating. Yes, that's happened to me. We smelled like blueberry cupcakes or blueberry, like the smell of cinnamon and blueberries. But we were in a basement that had cats, and at the time we couldn't smell. We wouldn't even. I mean, it was me, and it was another investigator, and it was. I think I call them phantom smells. That's what I call it. But you're probably right. It's probably the same thing. And we both can smell it in only one area. And I'm pretty sure the basement we were in had a kitchen, and they must have baked in that section, because anywhere else we couldn't smell it, but in that section, and then it just disappeared. But there was only 3 of us that were able to smell it. But it was like full-blown cinnamon, like cupcakey and blueberry, and I was like, holy buckets, that smells amazing.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I did a seance for a large group one night, and we were trying to connect with the French Quarter spirits here in New Orleans, and there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
We were in this specific restaurant that used to be a home, and the one woman who had died in this home loved roses. Okay. But there were no roses. There were no roses anywhere in this courtyard, in any of the balconies. There was no flowers, right? There was no flowers. And all of a sudden, we're talking to her. We're trying to communicate with this spirit. And it smelled like a bouquet of roses under our nose, all of us at the table. Wow. And we're looking around trying to find it. And then we asked her if that was her, can she take the smell away? And it left.
Did you guys all smell it then at the time?
Yeah, several of us. It was just like a whole bouquet, like in our face, like so powerful. Yeah. And it just came and it went, and it was done. Yeah. And if it was somebody's flowers around us, the breeze was still coming. We would have still smelt it. There were no flowers.
Well, this was funny because when I did an investigation as well, I smelled roses, same thing, like a perfume, but I kept seeing water. So then after I found out that this lady liked rose water, like she had like rose water or something like that, she used rose water. But when I would smell these roses, I kept getting a sensation of water or trickling water. So isn't that weird?
Yeah. That's cool.
So and of course, when you're saying cigars and cigarettes, yes, an investigation one time, I can go through this where I was going through this business that used to be this thrift store, and I'm walking through it, and I could smell cigar, like sweet, really sweet smelling cigar, and I'm like, what is that? You know, and I'm like, I smell cigar, and I kept telling my investigators, I keep smelling the cigar, and I'm walking through and I keep walking. And then all of a sudden I'm going into this other section, and it was a thrift store. It is a thrift store at the time I was investigating. But when I was investigating, I was thinking it could have been a jacket, but we weren't in an area where it had clothing. It had like hardware stuff, like, you know, pots and pans, and frames and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so it's not from the stuff itself. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe but it smelled so fresh. There was no way. So then I go to another part, and all of a sudden I could smell full-blown cigarette. Full-blown, like if somebody grabbed a cigarette, and I'm like, okay, nobody could smell this stuff. Later I did the research. I found out that later it was a newspaper place, and the men of the higher people would gather and wear smoking jackets and used to talk about fishing trips and stuff like that, and they'd smoke cigars and cigarettes, and I was like, what? I was so blown away. I couldn't believe it, and my investigators were, oh my God, that's crazy, you know. So this was our beginning.
Yeah, and another one for me, which really, it was very emotional. I was in Jackson Square. Now, you have to understand, New Orleans and the surrounding smaller suburbs around, like, so the French Quarter, the Treme, the Marigny, the Bywater, all of these homes, for the most part, are made of wood. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when a house burns, you smell burning wood. Okay? No fires were going this night, and I kept smelling the smell of a burning house. And I kept asking people and looking around, seeing if I saw smoke. And nobody else could smell this but me. And I'm like, okay. So one lady sat down with me, and I think I might have told you guys the story before. One lady sat down with me, and we got to do the reading. And I kept smelling the smoke. She didn't smell it, and her husband didn't smell it. And I'm like, okay. And I always let people ask 3 questions at the end of the reading. And one of her questions was, how did her mother pass? And I felt there was like some fishy stuff that had happened. And we talked about that. And she's like, yeah, it was. And I kind of described who I thought was involved with her death. And I said, by any chance, was there a fire involved? She says, no. And I'm like, okay, well, then this isn't for you, 5 seconds, she gets up, she leaves, another lady comes and sits down. Now, this first lady told me that she used to be from Ohio, but she moved to another state. I'm like, okay. So this next lady comes and she sits down, and we get to reading, and her reading is just nothing about, it's all sorrow. It's all sadness and sorrow for her present energies. And I'm like, okay, so give me your first question. She asks, how is my son? And right then he was standing next to her.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, did your son pass in a fire? And she just starts bawling. He had been standing there around me the whole night waiting for her. And she was from Ohio.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So,
that is so crazy.
2 people basically connected to Ohio, but that it was for her and her son.
Right.
And he passed in a garage accident. The car fell on him and it caught fire when he was working on it. He was 28 years old.
I was going to say, was he real young? Yeah. That's
he was
crazy.
28. The interesting thing was every number around him ended up being the number 10, which is the number of completion. So he had completed all his life lessons. He was 28. 2 + 8 is 10. He died on the date ended up being a 10. And I'm like, all of these things was a 10.
Right. That's crazy.
And so, he just wanted her to know that he was okay. And he knew she was going to come to me. He sent her.
Right. So I just want to read some more questions. It says, Steve B just got on here and he said, is there a way to put a shield up to protect us from psychic vampires? Yes.
Well, yeah. You could use a black stone. I wear a black onyx ring.
Okay.
That's one
Tourmaline
way.
is another one. Yep.
But I always wear something like that when I'm going out to do readings or do a paranormal investigation. I always wear a black stone or something. Okay. You can also use a meditation and envision a light bubble of energy around you, and that can protect you and make sure you're grounding. Those are ways that you can protect yourself.
I used to do that. I usually do that all the time. So that's a good one.
But those are what I would suggest.
Yep. Let's see. What else is there a way to put? It says, but I agree, Kim. Spirits can also drain a person of their energy. Translate. Yep. It's true. Yep. Let's see. First, Steve recognizes the symptoms for boring. Okay. And then there's Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie. Because I just saw somebody said, hi, Steph. I'm trying to read up as much as possible. Drain rather than. Okay, so hold on. I'm trying to catch up, guys. I'm so sorry. Hi, Steph. See, she did say hi. Tune in for the last. Okay, so give us another one.
Claire Gustance, the sense of taste.
That's interesting.
I've never thought about that. But have you ever gone in a situation? I'm trying to think if I've ever had a situation. Taste.
I would even think you would get a bad taste in your mouth, because I've had that a couple of times. I'll tell you right there, and which kind of made me, and I felt like it's sense of a negative. Could that be? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's see what else it says. It says you can taste essences being transmitted by spirit. Spirit can transfer a character or behavior influence to us. Sometimes it comes in the form of a flavor. This is usually something that they loved when they were in their body. So that would be in a positive sense.
Okay.
But I would imagine if they were in a horrific accident, you may get the taste of blood in your mouth.
That's right. That's right. So maybe that's okay. Okay. I never knew that, Willow. And see, there you
Yeah.
go. I
And I
learn
never
something
thought
all the
about it.
time on the Calling Radio Show. Just saying.
You know, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I
See?
just never experienced it. I guess I could ask them to do that for me, but I think the pain and stuff I get is enough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't give me your
So I
taste.
think
I'll
that's
smell
where
things.
that's where that one that investigation, well, when they asked me to read that gentleman and I felt that taste, so I felt like, so maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you probably
that's
had
interesting.
that. Yeah.
Very interesting. I didn't even know that. So I'm just making sure there's no okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just making sure there's nothing else. So give us another one.
And the last one of the list is clairtangency or touch or feeling, also known as psychometry.
Psychometry.
When I hold an object, I get images. I can tell you who owned it. I can tell you all kinds of history with the object. It's one of these things I just found out maybe about 5-6 years ago that I could even do. It just happened. I didn't know.
So I'm in the same boat. I barely learned mine as well. Yep. And I've never tried it. And then I decided one day to try it. So where were you at when you noticed that you could do this?
Oh, some smarty pants decided that he was doing Civil War reenactment, and he goes, "What do you think of this?" And he hands me this canteen, and I thought it was a replica from the Civil War until I picked it up.
Yeah.
And like I was transported back to Gettysburg, and I was in the middle of a battlefield. I could smell the gunpowder, and it was awful. The sense, I'm like, take it. I threw it back at him. I'm like, I thought that was a replica. And he's like, I was just curious if you could do that. And I'm like, you could have asked.
That's crazy. Yep.
I would have at least been prepared, but that blew me away. What was yours?
I bet. So, of course, that picture, I felt the picture. Yeah. And I just by looking at his picture and holding the picture, I was able to do that. I've done it with other things, like this person brought me this pebble and asked me to read the pebble. And they're saying, oh, yeah, it came from a building or from that and this and that. I'm like, okay, I don't see that. I see a highway, and I see the place that this person was at. It wasn't from the building, and I said that, and he goes, oh, it's just a joke. But yeah, she's right. I was like, what? It's off the highway.
My God.
I'm like, because he's trying to tell me that it was from the building and this, rock. And I'm like, I hate when they do that. I'm just saying.
It's like trying
but at
to
least here,
you, yeah. Let's test you. Let's test your abilities.
And a lot of
stop.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the things that I get, and maybe that's why it's so hard for me to really warm up to people in that sense. You know what I mean? And I try to like one girl brought this picture, and I think even Jerry saw this picture, and he goes, no, Kim, this is one of those apps. And I didn't know nothing about the apps, and it didn't look right to me anyway. And I said, no, I don't think so. You're right, Jerry. I think it's coming. He goes, oh, no, Kim, this is from an app. And I'm like, oh, no wonder it looks fake.
Right?
Because they're like, oh, tell me what this picture, they're all showing this picture, and it looked way too fake. So I was like,
right.
Yeah. So anyways.
I had a couple travel from Florida.
Okay.
Out of the blue, somebody gave them my name and told them that I could help them. So they traveled to New Orleans with this old ratty toy stuffed squirrel. It looked like it was disgusting. Okay. It if you saw a dog toy that had been like chewed on and rolled around in the dirt and buried and then dug back up and for like decades, that's what this thing looked like. And it smelled awful. Okay. And they asked me if I could tell them anything about the original owner of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you came all the way from Florida with that thing? Ew, for one. But I picked it up. and I had to touch it, and I didn't want to touch it, but I touched it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I saw was a little tiny boy. He was about maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old. He was little. And that squirrel was his only toy. And I saw the big old farmhouse, and he was farmed out in like the 1940s, 1950s to somebody else. And he knew he couldn't bring his squirrel with him because they would take it away from him. So,
Right.
and if he left it, his parents would get rid of it. So he put it inside of a sock, and he buried it in the roots of this really old tree in the front yard of this old farmhouse.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And so I'm describing this to them, and I said, but he passed away and he never got to come back and get it.
Oh.
And they both started to cry, the man and the woman. And I'm like, okay. They found it on their property in Florida, in the roots of a big tree, in front of the foundation of an old house that they were building on the property, but not on that foundation. But they were clearing the brush and clearing everything out, and they found it.
Wow.
And they asked me, well, should we get rid of it? And he's screaming, don't get rid of it. They have to take care of it. And I'm like, no, you have to take care of it now. It's yours. I'm not sure what he might do if you got rid of his squirrel. You have to take care of it. So literally they said, that's okay. So they keep it in their glove box of their truck, and they take it everywhere they go.
I would take care of it. If you told me that I would take care of it, honestly.
I would make it its own little glass case and just keep
go.
it. Yeah. So,
There we go.
That was my other interesting psychometry experience.
See, there you go. I mean, hey, and I'm sure people out there are probably now recognizing, okay, now I get what I'm seeing, or now I understand what I'm feeling, or smelling, or tasting, or, so now I think it's amazing.
Now, one of them that I did not see listed here is like the gift of like prophecy or like dreams. Prophetic dreams. So let's touch on that for a sec before we end our night. Yeah. If you are having prophetic dreams and you're very vivid, keep a dream journal. That's all I can tell you. Keep a dream journal, write it down, or use a recorder on your phone to record exactly what you saw in your dream before you get out of bed so you don't forget it.
Okay.
Because a lot of times prophetic dreams may come in a series of dreams, not just one. It could be a message from your guides. It could be something you need to know. Don't be afraid of a prophetic dream. Be prepared.
Right.
So, I was having nightmares before 9/11, even though I was nowhere near New York. I was having nightmares. Right. So I think it's important that we keep our journals when we have a gift, or if you're clairsentient or, clairaudient or whatever, keep a journal and keep track of the different things you experience, and don't be afraid of your abilities. Right. Enhance them, because they're given to us for a reason. Exactly. They're allowing us to evolve spiritually.
And I got to keep that journal. Yeah, I need to do that journal thing, because people always tell me, well, do you ever keep a journal of what you've ever done? I'm like, never. I never do. So, yeah. So anyways, that's it.
Yeah.
Did that go by fast or what?
It sure did. But,
go ahead.
But anytime that we need to get advice or guidance, reach out to somebody who has a gift or an ability, and just ask.
Exactly. Well, good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Willow. Thank you, Jerry. He's out there listening. And I just want to tell the troops that...
and thank you, Sarge.
Thank you, Sarge. Yep. Just want to thank everybody. Thank you guys so much.
Have a blessed night. Bye.